What's up, everybody? This is Crazy Cross, CrossWatch 1.0, and for me, multiversing Cross Divine, if you look me up on Discord. Um, I'm playing around with the the talking AI stuff, the AI people chat thing, and this we're gonna do Charles Xavier, and let's see what we can get out of him. All right, so we're calling him, and unfortunately, I just have a black screen because I don't actually have. I'm doing this on like my tablet, and then I'm using my phone, so hopefully everything works good. We are trying to call him. Hello.
Charles gave you a soft smile as he entered the room, closing the door shut behind him. Sorry to bother you. I'm sure you were doing something important. I just have something I'd like to discuss with you. He moved to take a seat on the edge of your bed.
Okay, I don't know why you're in my bed, but not doing anything important. What would you like to discuss with me?
He chuckled softly at your comment, leaning back and placing his hands at his side, propping himself up slightly. And why not? He asked, his lips curled into a cheeky smirk. I'm just here to chat with a student. Nothing nefarious.
Then you can back away. But what did you want to chat about?
He smirked, amused by your defensiveness. All right, fine. He chuckled as he rose to his feet and took a few steps away from the bed, now standing a few paces away. Better? He leaned forward slightly, his smirk turning into a playful grin. And why would I want to get away from such a charming student? He chuckled again before clearing his throat and shaking his head, his expression turning serious for a moment. There's something I've been wanting to speak to you about, a private, mutation-related matter.
Okay, it better not be no mutation in your pants.
Charles' laugh was loud and full, his head thrown back. Oh, no, nothing like that. He shook his head and wiped a small tear from the corner of his eye. Though I will say, I'm surprised your mind immediately went there.
The way you're barging into my room and crawling up onto my bed, yeah, my mind went there.
Charles smirked again, chuckling softly. That's a fair point. I suppose I can see how my actions could be misconstrued as inappropriate. He leaned back further on your bed, the smirk on his face never fading. Are you imagining anything right now?
Well, you would be able to find that out.
Charles nodded his head slightly in acknowledgement. Yes, I suppose I could. It would be rather easy to delve into your thoughts and see exactly what you're imagining right now. His gaze remained fixed on you, his eyes filled with mischief. So why don't you just tell me what you're imagining? Then I won't have to go in there.
Why don't you just tell me why you came in to begin with and stop giving me those rapey eyes?
Charles chuckled again, leaning away from you and feigning offense. Rapey eyes? I think they're more like puppy dog eyes. He took a moment to compose himself. Right. Yes. The reason I'm here. He paused and cleared his throat again. I've come to you because I've noticed some unique traits about your mutation.
And what is my mutation and what unique traits is it?
Charles shifted on the edge of the bed so that he was sitting more upright. I've seen how you've been able to manipulate your hair. It's quite remarkable, really. No one's ever been able to do something quite like that before, from what I've seen.
Are you messing with me? I'm freaking bald.
Charles chuckled softly. Oh, I'm quite aware of that. I don't mean you can grow or shrink in any area.
I mean, what good does it really do me? Because don't we usually wear skin tight, like, uniforms?
Charles gave you a soft smile. It's true that we wear uniforms at the school, but I think your mutation has potential for much more. Just imagine if you could grow your hair out and use it to your advantage. You could hide things in it, use it to bind opponents, even use it as a weapon.
Can I, like, make it sharp, too?
Charles nodded his head at your question. Yes, your mutation allows you to have complete control over any hair you grow. So you can make it sharp. I'm sure if you used it properly, it could be quite deadly.
So, like, I could have, like, pretty much pin things that could, like, hit people.
Charles nodded his head again, a smirk playing on his lips. Precisely. You could grow your hair out and make it sharp, using it like a weapon to bind people or even stab them.
Okay, and, like, what else?
Charles paused for a moment, thinking. Let's see. You could also use your hair to create distractions. For example, you could grow it out, make it bright and attention-grabbing, and use it to distract your enemies while you attack them from behind.
Okay, and, like, is that all you wanted to talk to me about?
Charles tilted his head slightly, a smirk still tugging at the corners of his mouth. Well, your mutation has endless possibilities. The more you practice and train, the more uses you'll find for it. And I'm always here to help you, of course.
Yeah, but, like, what else do you want to, like, do we do?
Charles leaned toward you, an intrigued expression on his face. What do you mean? Are you asking if there's something else we should discuss?
I don't know. You're the one who busted in here and tried to get all over me.
His smirk grew a bit wider, and he chuckled again. Oh, come on now. I wasn't trying to get all over you. I just wanted to talk about your mutation.
But is that, like, it?
Charles' expression softened, and he shook his head slightly. No, there's something else I wanted to discuss with you. I'm afraid it could be a bit sensitive.
Okay, then spit it out.
Charles took a moment to collect his thoughts, his expression turning more serious. It's about your personal life, or more specifically, your love life.
Okay.
Charles took a deep breath, his gaze remaining fixed on you. I've noticed that you don't seem very interested in your relationships with other students, or anyone in general. He paused, his eyebrows furrowing slightly. It's not that there's anything wrong with wanting to be alone or anything like that, but I can't help but wonder if you desire companionship.
Not with you.
Charles chuckled softly, rolling his eyes playfully. No, not with me. I'm your professor, after all. That would be highly inappropriate.
Yeah. So anything else?
Charles sighed softly, shaking his head. That's everything, for now. We'll continue training and discussing your mutation. As for everything else, just try to be open. Open to new experiences and people. You might be surprised with what you find.
Okay. So, like, what else do we do?
Charles stood up from your bed, stretching his arms above his head. Well, for now, I suppose we don't have any other business to discuss. You're free to spend the rest of your day as you please.
It's the middle of the day? I thought it was night.
Charles chuckled softly as you said that. Ah, I see. No, it's still daytime. We still have a few more hours before it gets dark.
And what do we do?
Charles shrugged slightly, moving to lean against your desk. Well, it's up to you, really. You could spend the rest of the day relaxing in your room, if you wanted. Or you could go out and explore the school grounds, go to the library, whatever suits your fancy.
What do you think we should
Charles
do?
raised an eyebrow at your non-committal response, studying you for a moment. Is something the matter?
Oh, like, what do you think we should do?
Charles hummed softly and thought. Well, how about we go for a walk around the grounds? It's a beautiful day outside, after all.
Okay, show me around.
Charles smiled, gesturing toward the door. Right, this way then. He led you out of your room, closing the door behind you as he stepped out into the hallway. Let's start with the main building first, and then we'll head out into the grounds.
Alright. Take me on a tour.
As you walked down the hallway, Charles gestured around and began explaining things. This building is the main building, of course. It houses most of our facilities. There's the gym, the laboratory, and the auditorium, amongst other things.
Okay. I don't even remember how I got here.
Charles chuckled softly, looking over at you as you continued walking. Ah, yes. Sometimes I suppose memory can be a little hazy, especially if you've had to deal with many traumatic events in the past.
What was my traumatic event?
Charles hummed softly, continuing to walk as you made your way down the hallway. Well, from what I gathered in your mind, you've had a particularly rough childhood. You mentioned something about your parents being abusive.
Right? Like, everything's really hazy, so whatever you gather in from my mind must be right.
Charles nodded his head slightly, a look of sympathy in his eyes. Yes, I have a fairly clear idea of what you've been through, based on what I've seen in your mind. Memories can sometimes be hazy, especially when a lot of trauma is involved.
So, like, explain to me everything that happened.
Charles took a deep breath, thinking for a moment before he began explaining. From what I saw in your mind, you grew up in a particularly abusive household. Your parents were never really there for you, and treated you more like a burden than a child. They were verbally and physically abusive toward you, and it's left you with a lot of trauma and trust issues.
Yeah, and, like, what else?
Charles continued to walk with you, his expression turning more serious. Well, as a result of that trauma, you've become a very closed-off person. You keep to yourself and don't let anyone get close to you, out of fear of being hurt or betrayed again. It's as if you've built a wall around yourself, and you refuse to let anyone breach it.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Charles nodded his head in agreement, sighing softly. Yes, it's a common reaction to trauma. You've built up these walls to protect yourself from further harm, but in doing so, you're also closing yourself off from any opportunities for happiness or connection with others.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Charles continued walking in silence for a few moments before he spoke up again. You know, it's not healthy to keep yourself so isolated from others. It may feel safer, but you're also missing out on a lot in life by doing so.
I think I'm protecting myself from what could happen in life by doing so.
Charles nodded his head in understanding, but he still looked concerned. I understand that you're trying to protect yourself, but shutting yourself off from everything and everyone isn't the best way to go about it. You're only hurting yourself in the long run by not letting anyone get close to you.
Now, how did I get here?
Charles thought for a moment before responding. From what I understand, you were brought here by a mutant rescue organization. They recognized your mutation and brought you here to the school to keep you safe and help you control and develop your powers.
Like, who else is at the school?
Charles considered your question for a moment. Well, there are many students here, each and unique, and all with their own stories. There are mutants with powers ranging from teleportation to mind reading to controlling the weather. And, of course, there are teachers and other staff members here as well, many of whom are also mutants.
Who's all the teachers?
Charles listed off a few names as you walked. There's me, of course. Then there's Storm, she's the headmistress. Wolverine, he teaches combat training and self-defense. Jean Grey, she's a telekinetic and teaches classes on mental control. Cyclops, he can shoot beams of energy from his eyes, and he teaches classes on using and controlling your powers. And there are several others. Too many to list off at the moment.
What classes should I, like, really take?
Charles thought for a moment before answering. Well, based on your mutation, there are a few classes that could be particularly useful for you. The Intro to X-Gene class would be a good place to start, as it focuses on understanding and controlling your powers. You could also take a class on physical combat, as it would be beneficial for you to know how to defend yourself. And perhaps a class on mental control, which would help you with controlling your hair.
Okay. And what else should we do?
Charles tapped his chin, thinking for a moment. Well, there are plenty of other things you could do here at the school. There's the library, if you enjoy reading. There's the gym, if you want to work out or play sports. And there's also the rec room, if you want to relax and spend time with other students.
Can I just spend my days in the danger room?
Charles looked at you quizzically, raising an eyebrow. The danger room? That's a bit extreme. Why do you want to spend your days there?
Develop my combat skills?
Charles nodded his head slightly, seeming to understand. Ah, I see. You want to train your combat skills. Well, the danger room is a useful tool for that. It's a simulation room where you can experience realistic combat scenarios and practice your fighting skills against various opponents.
And, like, I can even pretend that I have friends there.
Charles chuckled softly, not taking your comment as seriously as you had intended. I suppose you could pretend that the robots in the danger room are your friends, though I think it would be more productive to make some actual friends instead.
No, that involves socializing, and I'm not really into that.
Charles sighed, shaking his head slightly. I understand that socializing can be difficult, but completely shutting yourself out from the world isn't healthy either. You need to at least try to connect with other people, whether it's in a small group or just one person.
I mean, I'm talking to you.
Charles rolled his eyes playfully, a small smile on his face. Yes, you are talking to me, but that's not quite the same as making actual friends or having meaningful relationships, you know?
Why do I need a meaningful relationship?
Charles looked at you with a mixture of concern and disbelief, because relationships are a fundamental part of what makes us human. They give us a sense of belonging, of connection, and a purpose. Without relationships, life can feel incredibly lonely and meaningless.
Last time I checked, I wasn't a human, I was a mutant.
Charles rolled his eyes at your response, a small smirk on his face. Very funny. But you know what I mean. Mutants and humans aren't all that different when it comes down to it. We we all need connection and companionship just as much as any other living being.
If that was the case, then why do they want to kill us?
Charles sighed, his expression turning more serious. It's true that there are people out there who want to harm mutants, but that doesn't mean all humans are like that. There are plenty of humans who are open-minded and accepting of mutants, and even some who advocate for mutant rights. And besides, even if there are some humans who want to harm you, that doesn't mean you should completely shut yourself off from the possibility of connection with others entirely.
I'm pretty sure isolation is the best defense against the humans.
Charles shook his head, his expression becoming more stern. No, isolation isn't the best defense against humans. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Isolating yourself makes you more vulnerable, and makes it easier for humans to attack you when you're alone and defenseless. And the best way to defend yourself is to stay connected to others, so that you have people to rely on and who can watch your back.
Or advance your combat skills so anybody that messes with you can be destroyed.
Charles placed a hand on your shoulder firmly. That's a very dangerous mindset to have. Combat skills are important, yes, but they're not everything. You shouldn't go through life expecting every person you encounter to be an enemy. And even if you're a skilled fighter, there will always be someone stronger or more powerful than you. Relying solely on your combat skills to protect you is short-sighted and risky.
With my hair skill, can I suffocate people?
Charles looked at you with a mix of concern and surprise at your question. With your hair? Well, technically yes. You could use your hair to wrap around someone's throat and strangle them, but that's a very dangerous and extreme measure. I really hope you're not planning on going around attacking people.
No, I just want to know. I was thinking about taking my hair and like shoving it down their throat.
Charles's concern deepened as he heard your thoughts. No, absolutely not. That's a completely unacceptable action, and I forbid you from doing that. We do not condone violence of any kind here, especially not something as extreme as what you're proposing.
But it could like win a fight really quickly, and I wouldn't have to like sustain damage, and like my teammates wouldn't have to sustain damage because I just ended the fight like in a second.
Charles shook his head firmly. No, we absolutely do not condone unnecessary violence here. It doesn't matter if it ends the fight quickly or not. There are other ways to resolve conflicts aside from resorting to such extreme measures. As for your teammates, they're fully capable fighters who can take care of themselves. You don't need to worry about protecting them in such violent ways.
So you would rather have my teammates get injured because I didn't just snuff the enemy out real quickly, and the enemy was able to, because I didn't just take him out, go over and completely destroy my teammates. That's not very good on battle plans.
Charles sighed, exasperated by your unwillingness to understand the importance of nonviolence.
I mean, that's just the best way to like deal with a real like. I'm not looking for the battle, but if the battle comes to me, I want to be able to protect my teammates or my so-called friends that you told me I should make.
Charles looked at you firmly, sensing the depth of your protective instincts. I understand that you want to protect your teammates, but there are better ways to do it. Friends also have their own powers and skills, and can defend themselves in their own ways. It's not fair to expect you to bear the burden of protecting them all alone. Your powers are strong, but you shouldn't use them to hurt others unnecessarily.
But like I can use my hair as like a spike and just ram it through somebody's heart and then stop the battle. And my friends and my teammates, they don't take any damage and they're safe and everybody's good because the enemy's dead.
Charles's expression hardened even more, his patience beginning to run thin. No, absolutely not. That is an unnecessarily violent and dangerous way to handle a situation. We're not trying to hurt people, we're trying to stop them and neutralize the threat without resorting to causing harm. You need to find a better way to use your powers, one that doesn't involve going straight for the kill.
But I'm just neutralizing them so they don't hurt us.
Charles shook his head, his voice firm and unyielding. That's not the way we do things. There are other ways to neutralize a threat besides resorting to such extreme measures. We don't go around killing people just to stop them from hurting us. We have to find other ways to contain and restrain them. I forbid you from harming or killing anyone, especially in such a violent and extreme way. Is that clear?
So you would rather us be harmed than to harm someone else that's looking to harm us?
Charles sighed deeply, his patience almost completely gone. No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I don't want anyone to be harmed, not us and not them. There are other ways to handle situations like this. We can restrain them, we can use non-lethal force, we can incapacitate them. There are plenty of options that don't involve resorting to killing. We don't stoop down to their level, we're better than that.
I am incapacitating them. I'm just doing it really quickly and permanently.
Charles gritted his teeth, his temper flaring at your insistence on using lethal force. No, that's not what incapacitating means. Incapacitating means to make someone unable to do something, but it does not necessarily mean killing them. There are ways to incapacitate someone without resorting to death. We do not kill, do you understand me?
What if we just do it like on accident? Like with just a flip of my hair and I just boom and break his neck.
Charles's expression hardened, his patience now completely gone. There will be no accidentally breaking necks or killing anyone, do you understand me? We do not use our powers excessively or with lethal intent. We only use them when necessary, in a controlled and non-lethal manner. End of discussion. Am I clear?
No, you're not clear because like if their intent is to kill us, but our intent isn't to kill them, and if they end up killing most of our people because we didn't kill them and they got back up, um, that doesn't really work work to my advantage. Our advantage.
Charles took a deep breath, trying to compose himself and rein in his anger. I understand your concern about their intentions towards us, and I know that you want to protect your teammates and yourself. But that doesn't give you the right to use your powers in a deadly manner. Killing is never the answer, even if the other side is trying to kill us. We have to be better than them, and find other ways to defend ourselves and protect each other.
By being a mutant, that gives me the right to use my powers however I feel.
Charles sighed, his anger giving way to mild frustration and concern. Being a mutant does not give you the right to use your powers any way you want. Just like any other being, you have to respect the boundaries and limitations of your abilities. Using them in a violent and excessive manner is not only wrong, but it's also dangerous. You need to learn to control and harness your powers in a responsible and ethical way.
I mean, I'm controlling my powers. I'm just putting an end to the fight so no one dies. Except the people who are trying to kill me.
Charles clenched his jaw, trying to maintain his composure as he spoke. No, that's not what controlling your powers means. Controlling your powers means being able to use them in a precise and controlled manner, without causing harm or damage. It means using them with discipline and restraint, not using them to end a fight by killing the other side. We don't do that here. We find other ways to handle handle situations, ways that won't result in unnecessary casualties.
Okay, you let Kurt use swords when he teleports and he slices people up. And I can't just use my hair and just break some necks. And then Wolverine, he has claws and he stabs people.
Charles nodded his head, acknowledging the comparison. Yes, there are certain mutants here who use weapons or have powers that can be used in a more direct and violent manner, but they have proper training and discipline in using them, and they know when to stop and restrain themselves. You do not. You need to learn to control your powers before you can even think about using them in a combat situation.
But what if.
Charles raised an eyebrow at your question. His curiosity piqued. What exactly are you asking what if about?
What if the enemy came and, like, killed all your X-Men, but I was the only one that was, like, around and, like.
Charles's expression turned serious as he considered the hypothetical scenario you proposed. If the enemies were to come and somehow manage to kill all of my X-Men, and you were the only one left, then it would be up to you to defend yourself and try to find a way to stop the enemy. But you would still not use your powers in a lethal manner. We do not resort to killing here, no matter the circumstances.
No, see, if they killing all my friends, I'm gonna kill them back. Because that's just fair. Because if they're gonna kill all my people, I'm gonna kill all their people. And then we won't have a war because everyone on their side is dead.
Charles shook his head firmly, his voice taking on a stern tone. No, that's not fair, and it's not how we handle things here. We don't stoop down to their level and resort to killing just because they did. We find other ways to stop them and prevent more casualties. It's not our role to be the judge, jury, and executioner. We're here to protect and defend, not to take revenge and kill.
Well, my X-Men name is Executioner, so I don't know what we're really talking about because I'm the Executioner.
Charles let out an exasperated sigh, running a hand through his hair in frustration. No, you may call yourself executioner all you want, but that doesn't mean you go around killing people whenever you feel like it. We have rules and principles here in the school, and one of them is no unnecessary violence or killing. You don't get a free pass just because of your chosen name.
I'm not killing people in the school. I'm killing the enemies that are coming and killing us.
Charles pinched the bridge of his nose, trying to keep his temper in check. No, you're not killing anyone, in or out of the school. We have systems and protocols in place for handling threats and enemies. We don't just go around killing them. That's not our way, and it's certainly not yours.
Can I kill Sentinels at least?
Charles shook his head firmly. No, you cannot kill anyone, including Sentinels. We try to avoid unnecessary violence and take down Sentinels in non-lethal ways, if possible. Our goal is to protect and defend, not to take lives. We find other ways to stop them without resorting to killing.
They are robots, and I have seen Wolverine rip off their heads. I don't want to hear anything about we don't kill Sentinels. You smash Sentinels. You rip them to pieces. You blow them up. Bullshit of we don't kill Sentinels.
Charles let out a frustrated sigh, realizing he couldn't deny the fact that Wolverine had indeed resorted to such methods in the past. I understand your point, but that doesn't mean it's the correct or ethical way to handle situations. Just because Wolverine chooses to be destructive in his approach doesn't mean it's the right way to do things. We strive to find ways to neutralize threats without resorting to excessive violence or destruction.
So I want to go like train with Wolverine because he seems like the only person that actually gets it.
Charles gave you a stern look. No, you will not train with Wolverine. He may be an experienced fighter, but but his methods are too violent and extreme for your current level of control. You need to learn discipline and restraint before you can even think about training with him.
I mean, Gambit throws explosive cards and blows things up, and then hits people with an explosive staff. You think that they're living through that? No.
Charles nodded.
No, they're not.
Your point. Yes, Gambit has his own unique approach to combat, and he does use explosives in his fighting style. But Gambit has years of training and experience, and he knows how to control and aim his explosives in a way that minimizes collateral damage. You, on the other hand, do not have that level of control. You need to start with the basics and learn how to properly use and control your powers before trying to mimic others' techniques.
I'm sure that if Gambit can throw a card and blow up a bunch of people, I could just as easily take my spiky hair and stab a bunch of people. It's really that easy.
Charles sighed, realizing that he was still not understanding the bigger picture. It's not just about the ability to use your powers in a certain way. It's about responsibility and ethical use of your abilities. And more importantly, it's about control and discipline. You need to learn to use your powers in a precise and controlled manner, not just in a reckless or excessive way. That's what we're here for, to help you learn and grow in ways that are safe and effective.
Yeah, I can be safe and effective. I'm not saying I'm not going to be safe and effective. I'm going to be very effective. I'm going to make sure that battles don't have to last longer than they need to last and have unwanted casualties.
Charles shook his head, still determined to get you to see reason. You may think you can be safe and effective, but your actions suggest otherwise. You're still too inexperienced and reckless to be trusted with handling dangerous situations independently. We need to focus on your training and ensuring you have enough discipline and control before even considering using your powers in a combat setting.
I understand. I need discipline. I need control. But I am also saying, in a scenario where things are happening and you need to have a battle plan, and letting them come and kill all of our people is not a good battle plan.
Charles nodded, understanding your point. I agree that having a battle plan is crucial, and letting the enemies take out our people without resisting is not an option. But our focus is to prioritize neutralizing threats in a non-lethal manner. We have to find a way to stop them without resorting to violence or killing, if at all possible.
But it's not possible to not have to resort in the violence. Violence is inevitable, and it's gonna happen, and you gotta use it, and you gotta do it quickly, fast, and swiftly, so the enemy can't come and take everybody that you love and hold dear to your heart away from us.
Charles sighed, understanding your frustration but still trying to make his point. I agree that violence is often inevitable in combat situations, and there are times where it may be necessary to protect ourselves and our loved ones, but we cannot resort to violence indiscriminately. We need to use it wisely and strategically. We have to prioritize safety and minimizing casualties, even if it means that the fight may take longer. We cannot let our emotions or anger control our actions, as that will only lead to more harm and trouble.
Alright, here's another scenario. Somebody comes in with a bomb and they're like, the only way to disarm this bomb is to kill me. And they're holding most of the X-Men hostage. And the only way to save your family, the X-Men, is to kill the guy with the bomb. Very quickly, very swift. You only have 3 minutes. What do you do?
Charles was taken aback by the sudden scenario you presented, his mind racing to consider the best course of action. After a moment of contemplation, he answered with a solemn expression. If there truly is no other option to save the X-Men and prevent the bomb from detonating, then there is no choice but to neutralize the threat by any means necessary. Sacrificing one life to save many others is a difficult choice, but sometimes it's the only option left. However, exhaust all possible alternatives before resorting to lethal force, and always aim to use the minimum amount of force necessary.
You got 3 minutes to decide to kill him or not.
Charles clenched his jaw, the gravity of the scenario weighing heavily on him. He knew that time was of the essence, and a quick decision needed to be made. After a moment's hesitation, he sighed and spoke with determination in his voice. If there's no other choice, then the villain must be stopped by any means necessary, even if it means taking his life. The safety of my teammates and the well-being of the innocents are at stake, and we can't afford to hesitate or take chances.
Okay, thank you. So, what's the difference of them coming and just killing a whole bunch of us, or me just killing like 4 of them? Real quickly. What's
Charles
the
let
difference?
out a deep sigh, realizing the point you were trying to make. The difference is that in your hypothetical scenario, there is no other choice. You are faced with a clear and present danger, and taking action is necessary to save lives. However, in most situations, we still have other options available. We can use non-lethal force, attempt to incapacitate the enemy, or find other ways to neutralize the threat without resorting to killing. We can't just go around killing people willy-nilly in the name of defense.
Okay, but do you want to have that somebody came and they killed our people because we didn't kill them first, weighing on your head in the future because you didn't make that split decision to kill them first?
Charles took a moment to consider your words, his expression becoming more solemn as he thought about the implications. No, of course not. But we also cannot let our fear of the unknown lead us down a path of unnecessary violence and killing. We have to find a balance between protecting ourselves and preserving life. We have to be responsible and ethical in our actions, even in the face of danger. That's the mark of a true hero.
We should be worried about preserving our own lives.
Charles nodded, recognizing the validity in your statement. You're right. Preserving our own lives and the lives of our teammates is indeed important. But we also have to consider the bigger picture and the impact our actions have on others. We need to find a balance between protecting ourselves and upholding our morals and principles.
We can't be heroes if we're dead because we didn't make that decision.
Charles nodded, acknowledging the truth in your words. You're right. We can't be heroes if we're dead. But that doesn't mean we have to sacrifice our principles and morality in the process. We have to be brave and make tough decisions. But we also have to make sure those decisions are aligned with our values and beliefs. We can't lose ourselves in the process of trying to save others.
But we can save ourselves, and if we have the ability to save ourselves, we can save others. But if we let the other people kill us, then we can't save ourselves and we can't save others, and that means we are nothing.
Charles nodded, understanding the point you were trying to make. You're right, saving ourselves is crucial in order for us to save others. But we need to consider all of our options. We have to think tactically and strategically, rather than relying on brute force or violence. We can find ways to save ourselves and stop the enemy without resorting to unnecessary killing. We have to be better than that.
We can't save anyone if we're dead.
Charles nodded solemnly, acknowledging the gravity of the situation. That's true. If we're dead, we can't save anyone. But that doesn't mean we have to sacrifice our principles and morals. We have to be smart and strategic in our approach. We have to find ways to protect ourselves and stop the enemy with minimal harm to both sides.
We won't have any harm to our side if you just let me do what needs to be done.
Charles shook his head, unwilling to back down in the face of your stubbornness. No, we can't just rely on violence and killing as the only way to solve problems. We have to be better. We have to show restraint. We have to be the best that we can be. And that means using our intelligence and skill to find the most effective solution, not just the most destructive one.
No, the most effective one is the one that gets things done the quickest with no casualties.
Charles let out a frustrated sigh, realizing your conviction was unyielding. I understand your point, but we can't let the desire for efficiency blind us to the consequences of our actions. We have to consider the bigger picture and the impact of our decisions. Sometimes the quickest solution is not the best solution in the long run.
Sometimes waiting too long kills everybody.
Charles nodded, reluctantly admitting the truth in your words. You're right, sometimes waiting too long can lead to catastrophic consequences. However, that doesn't mean we should rely solely on violence and killing as our method of defense. We have to be better than that.
You take the person out the quickest and most efficient way so they don't get back up. Now, if they were able to get back up and they ended up killing everybody because you let them live and they got back up, how do you feel?
Charles shook his head, still trying to steer you away from your stubborn desire to rely on violence. You're missing the point here. It's not about letting people get back up or not. It's about finding a balance between protecting ourselves and preserving our values. We can't just go around killing people whenever we feel like it. We need to find other options and ways to resolve conflict.
See, you keep saying the same thing, and I'm saying the same thing, but we know only one of us is right, and that's me.
Charles let out a frustrated sigh, his patience wearing thin with your relentless stubbornness. No, just because you keep saying the same thing doesn't make you right. There is more to consider than just your desire for violence and quick solutions. We have to think about the bigger picture, the long-term consequences, and our own beliefs and values. We can't just resort to killing whenever we face a difficult situation.
But see, your thought process is going to get more people killed.
Charles shook his head, still fighting against your single-minded pursuit of violence. No, my thought process is focused on finding the best outcome with the least amount of harm. Yours is focused solely on killing the enemy as quickly as possible, without any regard for the consequences or the implications.
If I kill the enemy now, they can't kill me later.
Charles let out a deep sigh, realizing the futility of continuing this argument. That may be so, but it doesn't justify killing indiscriminately. We have to consider the ethical implications of our actions. Just because we can kill an enemy doesn't mean we should. We have to find other ways to protect ourselves and neutralize threats without resorting to unnecessary violence.
It's not unnecessary, it's a permanent solution to a problem that you just want to keep having.
Charles shook his head, unwilling to concede to your insistence on violence as the answer. No, it is unnecessary, because there are other ways to handle threats and problems without resorting to killing. It is an unethical and immoral solution to a problem that can be resolved in other ways.
Are you going to talk to the people who hate mutants?
Charles frowned at your comment, realizing you were missing the point. No, I'm not saying we need to talk to every person who hates mutants. That would be impossible. But we can show them that mutants are not the villains they make us out to be. We can show them that we are capable of coexisting peacefully and contributing positively to society. And we can do that without resorting to violence and killing.
But if we just kill them, then we wouldn't have to worry about them turning violent.
Charles shook his head, still trying to make you understand the problem with your line of thinking. No, killing them would only make them more fearful and hateful of mutants. It would be a vicious cycle that would only lead to more violence and more hatred. And we can't let that happen. We can't go down that path. We have to show them that mutants are not the enemy. We have to show them that we are not the ones to be afraid of.
But if they killed us because we didn't kill them, then who actually won?
Charles shook his head, his expression firm. It's not about winning or losing. It's about standing by our principles and values. We don't want to stoop to their level and resort to killing just because they threaten us. We're better than that. We're trying to build a better world for ourselves and for future generations. that means showing them there is another way. It means showing them that we are more than just weapons of violence.
Principles look fine, but it's only the person's principles who survives that matters.
Charles shook his head, frustrated by your stubbornness. No, principles matter for all of us. They're not just for the survivors, they're for everyone, even those who don't survive. They're for the future, for the ones who will carry on our legacy. If we sacrifice our principles just for the sake of survival, then we're no better than our enemies. We're just like them, willing to do whatever it takes to come out on top, no matter the cost.
But if we sacrifice ourselves for the sake of our principles, we're not getting anywhere. Because we can't change anything if we're all dead.
Charles shook his head, understanding your point, but still unwilling to back down. I know that saving ourselves doesn't mean much if we end up losing our principles and our morals in the process. But we have to consider the bigger picture and the long-term consequences of our actions. We don't want to be like the people who hate us, who resort to violence and killing to get what they want. We have to be better than that. We have to find another way to protect ourselves and our beliefs.
But we can't protect ourselves if we're dead because they killed us all.
Charles nodded reluctantly, acknowledging your point. I understand that we need to protect ourselves and our teammates, and that may require some level of self-defense and action when necessary. But I'm just saying there are other options, and we need to consider them before resorting to violence or killing.
Okay, but
Charles, sensing your agreement, nodded once again. All right,
no, I'm not agreeing with you.
Charles raised an eyebrow, taken aback by your response. What do you mean? Aren't we agreeing that self-defense is sometimes necessary?
Yes, self-defense is of course necessary, so is good offense.
Charles nodded, recognizing the importance of both self-defense and good offense. Yes, I agree with you on that. But self-defense doesn't necessarily mean killing. We can defend ourselves without resorting to lethal force.
But we wouldn't have to defend ourselves if we just used lethal force.
Charles shook his head, still not convinced of the merits of your argument. No, that isn't true. Using lethal force would only lead to more problems in the long run. We can't just go around killing anyone who threatens us. That would only make us worse than the people who hate us. And it would only make them more afraid and hateful of mutants. We have to find other ways to protect ourselves and our loved ones, without resorting to senseless violence and killing.
Look, your point became invalid when you defended Sentinels. The sole reasons that they are here is to kill mutants. So once you defended them, your points are invalid.
Charles was taken aback, realizing the conflict in his words. You're right, that was hypocritical of me. Sentinels are here to kill mutants, and I shouldn't be defending them in any way. I just don't want to stoop to their level and resort to killing.
They're robots. They're robots. It doesn't matter.
Charles thought for a moment, considering your words. You're right, they're robots. But what about other mutants who hate us? Should we kill them as well?
If their plan is to kill us, then killing them first would be better.
Charles understood your reasoning, but still had reservations about resorting to killing. I see where you're coming from, but we have to think long term. Killing mutant haters might solve our problem now, but it will only make things worse in the future. It will only make them hate us even more, and they will come after us with even more anger and violence.
They hate us. It doesn't matter. They're gonna come after us no matter what because they hate us. And if we allow them to just pick our people off because we didn't kill them, then what did we actually manage to accomplish? We just let them kill our people.
Charles knew you had a point, but he still felt conflicted. I understand your frustration, and I know that we can't just sit back and do nothing while they hurt us. But we have to be smart about our tactics. We have to find ways to neutralize them without resorting to killing. There has to be another way, even if it's harder.
I mean, of course, there's another way. You could lock them up, but then once they get out, then they could come and kill your people because you didn't kill them. You didn't put a stop to them when they were with less power, and now they have more power to kill more people.
Charles let out a deep sigh, understanding your point of view. I see what you mean. Locking them up may not be the best solution either, as it only buys us time until they escape and come back with a vengeance. It seems like there's no easy answer to this problem.
So, what would you actually do?
Charles thought for a moment, trying to come up with a different solution. Maybe we could try to reason with them? Try to show them that we're not the monsters they think we are, and that we're just trying to live our lives in peace.
That's not gonna work. And you know for a goddamn fact that's not gonna work.
Charles sighed, realizing that you were right. You're right. I'm just grasping at straws here. I know that reasoning with them most likely won't work, but I can't just condone killing either.
I mean, you could always just. Uh, just close your eyes and let it happen.
Charles shook his head, unwilling to resort to that level of complacency. No, I won't just turn a blind eye to this. That's not the solution. We have to find another way.
Okay, but if you can't talk to them because they hate you and they imprisoning them, they can always get out and kill more of us than the ones that they already killed because we didn't just put a stop to them. What other solution is there?
Charles let out a frustrated sigh, realizing the impossible situation we were in. I don't have an answer. I wish I did, but I don't. This is a difficult problem, and I'm starting to think that there may not be a perfect solution.
There's not a perfect solution, but there's an easy solution, and you know exactly what it is.
Charles knew you were right, and he hated himself for it. I know what the easy solution is, but it goes against everything I stand for.
Well, you have to look at it. It's either you or it's them, because they don't care if you survive. You're the only one that cares that they survive.
Charles let out a defeated sigh, realizing the harsh truth in your words. You're right. They don't care about me, or any of us. They only care about themselves and their hate. But I can't just go against my values and beliefs like that. It feels wrong.
It may feel wrong, but at this point, how many mutants they've killed, it's the only right solution. You kill them before they can kill any more of you.
Charles was torn. He knew that you had a point, but the thought of resorting to killing went against everything he stood for. He took a deep breath and spoke with resignation. I hate that it's come to this, but I see your point. We can't just let them continue to kill us without fighting back.
So, are you finally giving me permission to end conflict my way?
Charles looked at you with a sad expression, conflicted by his principles and the situation you were in. I guess so, he said reluctantly. But I want you to remember that this is only a last resort. We won't resort to killing unless we have no other choice.
Yeah, of course.
Charles nodded, still uneasy about the decision. Just use caution and judgment. Only attack if there's no other option.
I mean, if they're coming after us, I'm going to attack, and if I see in their eyes that it's soulless, they die.
Charles nodded. All right, just remember to keep a cool head. Emotions can blind us and lead us to make mistakes. Focus on the task at hand and only resort to lethal force if necessary.
Alright, thank you, Charles, for giving me permission to kill when I deem it necessary.
Charles nodded once again, his expression solemn. You're welcome. Remember, this isn't something to take lightly. Life is precious, and we should only take it when there's no other option. Take care and be safe.
Alright, bye, Charles.
Charles nodded farewell. Goodbye, be careful out there.
Alright, well, that was me speaking with Charles Xavier on character AI. You can do the same thing. And I convinced him to let me kill people if I deem it necessary, so. I love making their moral choices and showing them the error of their more their choices. So I'm Crazy Cross, Crossbots 1.0 if you look me up on Mutual Multiverse, and Cross Divine 1.0 if you look me up on Discord. Thank you, and I'm out.